Hi guys, and welcome to the Milk Round, Castmilk Youth Complex's very own podcast. We're on episode 21 of the Milk Round. We bring this to you every Thursday night on our YouTube channel. Chris and myself just chat a wee bit about what's going on, what we've been up to, what's going on in the complex, and then we usually get like a wee guest on and speak about a topic. So we've got an exciting guest coming up this week, Chris. Really looking forward to him coming on, but we won't reveal all yet. We'll wait until later on in the podcast.
Yes, we will.
Aye.
Yes. I have to, before we continue, I have to put a wee thing out there that last week's podcast, I numbered it incorrectly on YouTube.
Right,
So
okay.
we had two episode 19s.
Oh,
I
okay.
only noticed it, I think, yesterday.
Right.
So it was episode 20 last week, and as you said, episode 21 this week. So
Yep. I watched it and I didn't even notice that as well with the title. As we say, we've got lots of different episodes up. So there's 20 before this one. So if you can check them out as well on our YouTube channel, which you're on just now. So if you can like our videos, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell for notifications. What would help us a lot is if you guys could share the podcast as well on your social medias. And speaking of social medias, you guys can get us on social media at...
It's Facebook, Kelly Youth Complex Staff, Twitter, Youth Complex CYC, Instagram, Youth_Complex. We have a TikTok, and it's Kelly Youth Complex for that. And you can drop us an email at cycyouth@gmail.com.
Brilliant. So as I said, if you guys can share on your social medias, we'll update our social medias with lots of different information on what's happening in the youth complex. And we'll always be updating it with the new podcast and things. So ring that bell for notifications and you can be the first one to watch a Milk Round every week. And you can write that old way that people used to do on YouTube, Chris. I don't know if you remember, but when a video was uploaded, everybody wanted to be the first comment on YouTube. Years ago, like when YouTube first started, and it was just first people wrote. So if you manage to get that, then we'll maybe throw a wee prize your way. Maybe if you can get the first comment on our video. So last week we were on. Chris, you came back and you redeemed yourself pretty much. I think that's what I've put in my notes. That Chris
a bit more. Yeah, I felt much better after that.
The quiz was excellent. Your score was brilliant, and some of the answers you were given. Even the last wee bit of trivia, I threw a wee curveball your way, and you smashed that out the park as well, with the Miley Cyrus stuff. And if you've not checked out last week's episode, go check it out. But we were speaking a wee bit about music because it was a music quiz at the end, and I was speaking about. I think you were speaking about Miley Cyrus and how much she's like Stevie Nicks.
Yes.
And I was on Twitter just scrolling through it, and someone I follow, and they follow me as well, was speaking about Miley Cyrus's most recent song that she covered was Zombie by the Cranberries. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
No, I've not seen that.
Just check it out, but somebody's wrote under it, she is turning into Stevie Nicks, a young Stevie Nicks.
Yeah,
so that's
I can definitely hear it in her voice. Her voice has matured over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's maybe like a case of like she's kind of firmly in control of her own kind of career now, whereas when she was kind of breaking out at first, she was trying to like kind of get rid of the Hannah Montana kind of stuff, and then like she went full into like controversy mode almost in some ways, and I think that was in a way I kind of try to claim back her identity as Miley Cyrus. But I think over the last few years, she seems to be owning her musical style as well. Now I think she's got enough in the tank now that she can dictate to maybe record companies how she wants to sing, perhaps. And this is her maturing a wee bit.
Can become more independent, I suppose.
Perhaps. You don't know though.
But that was just nice that I seen the same comparison. So maybe they've watched the Milk Round and still a wee.
That's what it is.
Everybody's been talking about it. So that was last week's. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out for us, please, and check out our other videos. This week, as I said, we've got an exciting guest coming up, but we'll share that all after we've went through our kind of usual sections. And the first one that comes up every week is our nice news story. So because the news isn't very nice right now, especially this week again. We've had another wee bit of bad news about lockdown, and everybody's getting a wee bit fed up, but we've just got to stick to the rules. But what the Milk Round tries to do is make everyone a wee bit happier by bringing you a nice news story. And we're going to keep to the kind of theme that we've been going with for the last couple of weeks and go with something the youth complex again. So this is like, I think, third week in a row we've spoke about a nice news story coming from the youth complex, and it's that the complex opened up again this week. Not to the same way it was before lockdown, but that's understandable. But it's really exciting stuff to get back into the complex. And Chris, you were in this week already, so you've been in. So can you just
so as of kind of recording, or as you're watching, I was back in. It was our first bit of youth work happening indoors, let's say, because there's been the lockdown lunches, which happened last week during the October break and happened all through the summer holidays. But all of that was happening outside. Now, this is the first time that we've actually had inside youth work happening, and it was the return of the much missed music group. So we had basically fully limited spaces, but we were pretty much fully booked for that. It was funny because it was like the first group were kind of like the younger members of the group, and the later group were the kind of older members, and there was a few wee bits and pieces we got done with the younger ones, but I think the older ones just really wanted to catch up with each other mainly. There wasn't a hell of a lot of music that happened, to be honest. There was a few bits of playing, but nothing really. And I had to come and kind of check myself, because you're very much in that kind of way of, right, we need to do something here, blah, blah, blah. And, I couldn't do it. I just had to check myself and say, these guys haven't seen each other in 6 months.
Aye. And I see the music group in the complex, and I think it's brilliant, because it isn't all just you come in and you play instruments for 2 hours, 3 hours, which is the brilliant part for me about it is there's a massive social aspect about the music group.
Absolutely.
And the people involved in the music group are from different walks of life and from different backgrounds, and they've got different genres of music that they listen to, but that's what probably makes it for you guys as well. You and Scott running the music group, and seeing all these genres and different young people coming together. And
that's it. And you kind of hit the nail on the head a wee bit there, but like it is a kind of social aspect, and like what we would do previously when everything was normal was we would have a show every quarter, and like maybe like the first half of that quarter it was just mainly messing around, and then maybe 3 or 4 weeks before it we start, all right, okay, we need to actually get moving here. But they're from all walks of life, as you say. They wouldn't probably necessarily been hanging around with each other naturally, but they're a very supportive group of each other. See, when they're actually doing the show and stuff like that, and they all have their own little spots throughout the night, they're so supportive of each other within that. There's not any egos, which I'm quite surprised at, because sometimes you can come into contact with that in any walk, in any sort of show-based thing. There's usually egos to manage and stuff like that. Not with this group. So they're great.
So that's what's happening on a Tuesday night, but also we've got some stuff running on a Thursday night, and our podcast goes out on a Thursday night. So as you're watching it, myself and Stacey will be in the youth complex with different groups. So Stacey's catching up with S1s, because Stacey's been on and spoke about the P7 transition on the podcast. She was on the second episode of season 2, first episode of season 2.
First episode of
season 2. Yeah, she kicked it off, and it was a great episode. And now she's getting in to do what she's brilliant at, working with P7s and S1s. So it's an S1 club we've got up just now, and she's inviting people into that, and you can book into it as well, which is great. And myself, I'm running an S2 club. So I'm doing invites of that through the school, like I said in last week's podcast. But it's really exciting stuff. But always keep your eye on our social medias so that you can get updates on what's maybe coming in the future as well, because it might not always just be stuck to invites and S1 or S2 clubs. We might vary it.
Yeah, there might be additional stuff that comes, and that's why we always mention our social medias at the beginning and end of these, so that there's opportunities there, and that's the first place that we put them once we can tell people about them,
Aye.
So yeah,
that's all nice news for this week. It's really nice news, I think.
I think it's also worth mentioning that the cafe is also open for takeaways as well. So there's been a lot of kind of activity on our social medias about that. today, in fact. So it's open to all of the public. What we do ask is, if possible, can you please phone in your order in advance to come and pick it up, because it just makes life a lot easier for everyone concerned. So so that is open as we speak, and as you see, it will be open barring any sort of other things happening. It should be open Monday to Friday. I think it's 12 till 2, I believe.
I think that's the right times, Chris. I thought.
So, yeah.
Excellent. So that's brilliant, because that moves us perfectly on to our next section of the podcast, because we talk a wee bit about food in this next section. And that section, what's on my telly and what's in my belly. Well, probably a fan favourite. I say this every week, but a lot of people really like this part. So who's going first this time, Chris?
I think I'll go first, because I've consciously not made it a big fancy all singing, all dancing one this week, because we do have a guest or guests coming on, and I want to make sure that we give them enough time to speak. So what's on my telly this week? And it's just the new 3rd season has just started on Netflix. It's a new episode every week on Fridays, and it's Star Trek Discovery. Now, sometimes whenever you say Star Trek to people, they get a bit. Some people love Star Trek, and some people go, "Oh no, that's that really geeky stuff." That's like, I like a bit of sci-fi, but that's like too far for me. So I'm going to try to allay your fears here with the word Star Trek for this particular program. It's a modern take on it. It's been it's actually quite controversial when it came out. So we're on season 3 now. So it really ruffled the feathers of all those kind of traditional Trekkies to the point where I don't like it. I just don't like it. They dropped their first F-bomb on it, and that's the first time in Star Trek history for there to be an F-bomb, and that created all manners of rubbish happening on social medias and stuff and debates. But I've always loved Star Trek anyway, but this kind of hits the right spots with regards to a modern appetite for sci-fi, if you know what I mean. But keeping true to the kind of roots of some of the stories, but they've taken it different places. So season 3 is now showing. Episode 1 was last Friday, so episode 2 will be tomorrow as you're watching the podcast, and it's on Netflix. So I recommend it. It's good stuff.
I just can't go Star Trek if they're dropping F-bombs, because nobody swears in space, obviously. I won't be watching it because nobody swears in space.
That's it. No,
what is their argument though? Like,
I think it's just like Star Trek. There was a lot of kind of traditional elements, and that was one of them, that they never swore, and it was all this and it was all that. And like, some of these people are just like, that's it. You'll never convince them. It's like, they're like, I liked Star Trek The Next Generation, and that's it. And nobody's going to change my mind on it, and that's it, if you know what I mean. And it's like, well, for the Star Trek franchise to survive, it needs to evolve. So if you kind of start to reference, say, Spider-Man, like there was a late 70s, early 80s Spider-Man movie that came out. It was rubbish. Do you know what I mean? But you go from where Marvel was there to where it is now, and it's absolutely world beaten and all that sort of stuff. So you have to allow things to evolve for a new generation of fans. So
and I don't know about you, Chris, but see, if I'm in a spaceship and another spaceship shooting at me, I'm going to swear at one point. I'm going to say something that I might
absolutely
know at the point. So Star Trek Discovery, is it called?
Star Trek Discovery. There's also another new Star Trek kind of franchise that's out, but it's based very much on an old character. It's Patrick Stewart's Captain Picard. It's called Star Trek Picard. That's on Amazon, and that's great. But that, I would say, that will more appeal to a traditional Star Trek fan. That's why I chose Discovery, because it's pretty universal. You will enjoy it if you like sci-fi stuff, you know. So
brilliant. So following on for that, Chris, what is in your belly this week?
So I had a really large kind of container of skinned and deboned chicken thighs that I got, like, and it was like they were on offer in Morrison, so ended up getting 1 kilogram of chicken thighs. Excuse me, my phone alarm's going off. And it was like $3.99 for 1 kilogram of chicken, which if you equate that against what that would cost for chicken breast, it's quite a lot. It's quite a big saving. The thing is with chicken thighs is they're just a lot more flavorful for me.
Right.
It's a better cut of meat than chicken breast. And what puts a lot of people off is that they normally come with the bones and the skin on. But these have been deskinned and deboned. So what I made 2 chicken dishes with it because there was so much chicken. I made a chicken supreme, which is like a kind of like a throwback to the 80s almost. It's like chicken mushrooms, creamy chicken mushrooms and garlic. And you can serve it with rice, or you can serve it. I served it with like mini herby roast potatoes and stuff like that, which was nice. It's a particular favourite of my wife. She specifically requested that. Also, what I had left over, roughly half the chicken. My wife had bought me the wrong cashew nuts in the supermarket. She'd brought me the raw ones, the unroasted, unsalted. I like roasted and salted, just to kind of snack on. So I decided to make a chicken satay, which is traditionally got peanuts in it, but I used cashew nuts instead. So I whizzed up those cashew nuts in the kind of like in a blender. I cooked I fried off some onions first to take the kind of harshness off, and I put it all in and made a kind of paste, marinated the chicken and all that overnight, and then whacked it in a frying pan, used the leftover marinade, added more coconut milk to it, to make the kind of satay sauce. So basically it was based loosely on certain recipes, but it came out pretty good. My wife enjoyed it and she hates satay.
Really?
Which is a win, I suppose. Do you know what I mean? So satays, usually it's like they use peanut butter, coconut milk, and like chili and other bits and pieces, basically. So you can look up recipes for that, and whatever you've got in your cupboard, you could probably go with that. And you could just use peanut butter, basically, because that's kind of what people use. So I made a satay and I made chicken supreme this week, and they were all good. I never took any pictures, but it's probably quite good that I didn't, because we've got guests this week.
Excellent. That sounds really good. Sounds good to me. So for me, I'm going to speak about something that I touched on kind of last week for my What's on my telly. It wasn't actually on my telly. It was on a massive screen, and I went to the cinema again for the first time in months. I went to see, as I mentioned last week, I went to see Tenet, the new Christopher Nolan movie, and I loved it. I thought it was excellent. First 25 minutes or something, you're like, what is going on here? But I think that's the same as every Christopher Nolan movie. You're watching, you're like, I don't understand it. Is this? And that will put a lot of people off watching it, to be honest, because some people go for the first 10 minutes of a movie and then go, no, I'm not watching the rest. I know my mum and dad do that if they're watching a film and they don't like the start. Then that's it for them. The movie.
Harsh critics, eh?
But Tenet, I really enjoyed it. If you don't know what it's about like CIA agents, and they're fighting a war against criminals who have revolutionized weapons so that they can, instead of following a future linear path, they're following the reverse of that. So the weapons are reversed through time. So it's not really time travel. It's like it's touches on it a wee bit, but it's really clever, really long. But I think it's exciting enough all the way through that you don't get bored at any part. So I would give that a strong 8.5 out of 10 for Tenet. Big fan of it.
So it's like a Christopher Nolan film. It was like a tick box exercise with them sometimes.
Right.
Is it long? Tick. Is it got some sort of timey-wimey type thing? Tick. Is it slightly sci-fi, but no, really, it's kind of more gritty? Tick. And can I ask, can we tick the final box? Did the actors mumble through the film?
Yep, all the time.
Oh, thank God, tick.
I did a review for it. I don't know if you like the comedian Lemmy, but I follow him on Twitter, and he reviewed it. He went to see it as well, and he reviewed it, and he says, I liked it, but I didn't like it because of the way the actors mumble. They speak as if it's just two people having a conversation, nobody needs to hear it.
Yeah.
Whereas the whole point of a movie is hearing the dialogue, and I suppose that kind of adds to the first 25 minutes where you don't know what's going on because they're using these scientific terms. Like the agents are speaking to scientists who know how they've revolutionized the weapons, and they're using terms. So you need to hear the terms. But when aye, so
it seems to be a kind of like signature for Christopher Nolan films.
Right.
Now I'm going to put, I love Christopher Nolan films, right?
Aye.
I'm just putting myself out there and saying I'm not, but I just find it hilarious. Like there's films like Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey's just like, and then obviously we spoke about Batman before, but from the first in the trilogy to the third, the requirement for Batman to get a throat lozenge becomes more and more needy because it goes from a bit like, hey, what are you doing to you know what I mean? So it just seems to be like a signature kind of style for Nolan. And
I'm surprised with the
he's
Dark
still
Knight
good, so
by the third movie, Bruce Wayne isn't walking about with like a cough or something,
or a
like,
voice box going like.
So I went to see that, and then so I'd recommend going to see that. But that links into what's in my belly because when I go to the cinema, I pig out. I don't know how I manage it and how I eat as much as I do because and don't get sick. But I think it helped at 10. It was over 2.5 hours long. That I could eat a large popcorn. We didn't have dinner that night because we went to see it at the Key, the Odeon Lux at the Key, and we thought we'd just jump in and get a Burger King while we wait because we got there quite early, and then the Burger King was closed. It was a delivery or drive-through only. So we went into the Odeon, the only other place open in the Key, and that does hot food. And we tried the chicken tenders and the chips that come with that, and it was really good. It's pricey, obviously, because it's in a cinema, but it was good. It comes with a barbecue sauce and that, and it's a massive portion as well. And then we always go for a blue ice blast when we go to the Odeon. So Cineworld let us down big time last year when they took away the ice blasts and changed it to
other slushies are available.
Aye. It was an icy, and we were really excited about getting these slushies called ices. It's Fanta's version, I think, instead of Tango's version. In the Durham and the theme parks over in Florida, and we'd been there a couple of years ago, me and Brooke, and we loved the cherry version of it, and we got it in the cinema, and it just wasn't the same. But I don't know if that's because it's been made over here and it's not the same sugars or same artificial flavors or whatever. But Odeon beats Cineworld on that one. But that's what's in my belly as well. I just pig out when I go to the cinema and eat as much as I want and as much as I can. Which I've got to ask one question to you, Chris. When you go to the cinema, if you're eating popcorn, salt or sweet?
It has to be sweet.
Oh, we've finally differed on something here. We're usually quite in line.
I've tried salty popcorn before, and it's actually quite nice. But I think just going back to my childhood days of going to the cinema, it was always sweet popcorn.
Right.
And I just think, and it's almost like the idea of the popcorn. I think the reason you get through such a large amount is you're trying to find that really sweet one, and you go, oh, I got one, and then you try to find another one, so you're just eating your way through a box basically of it. So,
and you never eat popcorn one at a time either. You just go a handful, don't you? And half of it's down you and stuff. So
it's like you've rough casted the front of yourself, a nice bit of pebble dash going on in the t-shirt there. So yeah.
It's like you're dressing up as a bowl of popcorn or something. So that's what's on our tellies and what's in our bellies. If you want to tell us what's on your telly and in your belly, comment down below or send us it on our social medias that we'll mention again at the end of the episode. So that brings us now to bringing in our guests, Chris.
It is.
So would you like to introduce our guest? Because I know you know them out with the Milk Round universe.
So we decided that basically we'd agreed the last time we did a kind of music-y kind of themed one that we could do part 2, and this is like a friend or a kind of long-term collaborator that I've worked with, but he's got a kind of new band going on right now. So he's a music teacher as well, but I'd been in a band with him for about 10 years and had a great time doing that. And also it's only 2 people in this band called Scaramanga. And Paul, the singer, who's the other guy going to, is just a guy that I've kind of known in the kind of extended social group, but he's a really talented guy. He was the front lead singer for a David Bowie tribute band for about 5 years, and he was absolutely phenomenal within that role. And he decided to finish that and kind of concentrate on doing some more kind of original stuff. And him and Stephen kind of met each other quite well anyway, and so they've been starting to put out EPs, and they've been over lockdown period, they've put out I think 3 or 4 EPs, right. And they've been getting wee bits and pieces of radio airplay and stuff like that, so they're doing quite well with it, and I thought bring them on to have a chat with them about that, but also maybe talking to our young people about advice about kind of what they would say to them, young people in their position and stuff like that. So I think it would be good to just bring them into the chat now.
Yeah, excellent. Looking forward to it.
As if by the magic of science.
There we go.
There they are.
Hi.
How you doing, guys?
Right, excellent.
Very well.
Yes.
Thanks very much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Yeah,
Chris
absolutely.
was just giving a wee kind of background on how he knows you guys and how you guys kind of met and what you've been doing and what this interview is going to kind of involve. But we're not going to really make it an interview as such. It's just going to be like a kind of informal chat, if that's all right with you guys. Because I think that appeals more to our listeners and our viewers instead of us sitting down with like cue cards and being like, so what did you do last? It'd be much easier if we just have a wee chat and everyone kind of chips in. But before we get into that part of it, we do this every week with our guests. We've got a section called What's on My Telly and What's in My Belly. And it's just something that you've maybe watched recently or you've been to the cinema to see, and then something you've maybe cooked or...
I watched that new David Attenborough thing on Netflix last week. It was really interesting. I highly recommend it. Everyone checks that out. It's quite frightening, but also there's a bit of optimism there about the future. But it's a really stunning show. I remember hearing an interview with David Attenborough, and he was talking about why he went from the BBC to Netflix, and he was saying Netflix gives them the opportunity to reach billions of people.
Mm-hmm.
So he's able to get this message about global warming and about all this really important stuff out there via Netflix. It's a much wider audience he's tapped into now. So well worth checking that show out.
Aye.
Yeah.
It's always good seeing David Attenborough. He's brilliant. Like, you can't go wrong with a David Attenborough show.
Aye.
What about yourself, Paul? What have you been watching recently?
Well, I was actually trying to find it on Netflix as we speak because the name of it is gone. It makes it sound really interesting, but it's basically an Australian box set. It's about people that come back from the dead. I'm trying to find the name of it, but it's not coming out. Snatched or something like that.
Right. Okay.
And it's good. That's what I've been watching. I don't watch a great deal apart from just random stuff on YouTube personally.
Aye.
Just whatever's going.
Impressive.
War and stuff. That kind of stuff. It's fascinating, morbid, but fascinating.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. I agree. Me and Chris have done an episode on YouTube and how much we love it because there's so much on YouTube, especially the Milk Round, which is probably one of the best pieces of content you can get on YouTube right now. Our podcast. So the second part of that is what's in your belly. So guys, is there anything you've cooked recently or anything you've eaten? Well, not at a restaurant.
Tonight I had a proper carbonara, the proper Italian way, which is...
I don't believe this, by the way. Carry on.
Oh, you're kidding. Did you have the same thing?
Well, it was last night, but I had a slight sort of variation.
We eat clothes, we eat the same...
Nobody had to change T-shirts. I had to change T-shirts. But, yeah.
We should, before, that was a kind of in-joke, we should mention before, we normally do a wee kind of test run before we start recording, and Paul and Stephen were basically both wearing the same stripy T-shirt. They hadn't called each other or anything, and I made sure I got a picture of it just for proof before we went on. So, and now we're not only onto the same T-shirt, we're onto the same dinner, only 24 hours.
Oh, you're going to have to share your carbonara recipe just to check.
It had a slight variation. I chose to use so I was exploring the sort of vegetarian route of it. So I used eggplant, which I I'd powdered with flour, gluten-free flour, and smoked paprika, so that I get that smoky flavor, and then fried it. It was absolutely delicious. It was crispy, and used gluten-free spaghetti as well, because
Paul's obviously the woke one in the band. I was traditional.
I quite like a traditional carbonara though. But I just fancy trying something different.
All you need for carbonara: eggs, parmesan, pasta, bacon.
Yeah.
We had a big debate about this in previous episodes about the Italian or the kind of Glaswegian version of it, where you just chuck a big tub of double cream in at the same time, But
unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
Punch you in the face for that.
Did you make your own pasta though?
Always.
That's absurd.
I've been watching too much Hell's Kitchen. That's the problem.
Aye.
Gordon Ramsay tears them apart if they don't make their own pasta. So
brilliant. So carbonara, that's been a talking point before, but both you guys had it. That's excellent. So we'll just go into the kind of questions that we've written, and we'll just see where it takes us and what we end up chatting about. But Scaramanga, first of all, we want to chat about like how you guys individually got into music and when you first fell in love with music and what you decided, what kind of route you went down with your music.
Oh yes, now you're dressed for the occasion.
Yes. Well, I started my first band ever when I was about 16. Was an old synthesizer band, analog synths, wall to wall, and I loved that. Anything Depeche Mode, anything New Order, anything that had squeaks, buzzes, and resonant sweeps, I was into it. If it had testosterone and power chords, I wasn't really there. But I did get into that sort of stuff later when I was I did a rock course at Perth College, like when I was a few years ago, and met some amazing guitarists, like really, really amazing guitarists, and I've been sort of playing acoustic guitar and singing for years. It's only recently, through last year, through getting together with Stephen properly and deciding on what we're going to do, that I'm back into the electronica again, and I just love it. I mean, it turns me on in every possible way. It's incredible. I love the music, man. Stephen's a genius too.
What about yourself?
It's bizarre. It's actually thanks to Chris Ritchie there that we actually got this band together, because Chris offered us a gig in December 2019.
Back when we could have gigs.
we were originally going to play some covers, and we just thought, this is a bit of a cop-out. So we just got together in the studio. I played Paul some synth stuff that I've been working on, put the mic in front of him, and then we suddenly had a set. It was just it was very organic. It was very good fun, and it just turned into a band. It's so random, but also what better? I mean, it's not contrived in any way. We just kind of got together purely for the love of making noises.
Aye.
So we've been on each other for years, but we've finally got our act together and done something together.
A few years ago, back at the La Roche Rumba, when it was ex-Servicemen's Club a few years back, and I was there with my mate Crawford Smith and Aldi, is his now wife, and met Stephen that night, and you guys were playing there with ID Parade that very night. That was
quite possibly, yeah. We played there a few times, so
it was great fun.
That sounds like an excellent way to kind of get your music going forward. But when it's just like you're enjoying it instead of it being like a job or a chore, and you're kind of trying to figure out like what are we going to play, and it's better if it just comes naturally, I suppose.
For sure, everything, the music, when we're writing, Stephen's generally got the musical idea in a pretty well produced format. I've got to say, I'll get Stephen lets me hear a stereo file sometimes, or if the last time was his, I don't know how many months and months ago that was, but if I see the full arrangement on Ableton, then I basically just improvise lyrics.
Right.
We record it, and so it's all fresh. There's I mean, I have written a couple since then where it's not improvised, or it starts off that way, but I love the sort of freshness of that, and I normally jam and improvise myself of an evening and just make up songs as I go along. But this was on another level. Stephen's stuff was so exciting that everything was just all my emotion, everything, all the ideas were just flooding out of me.
Excellent, sounds great. So you've spoken a wee bit about some of your influences and who you liked when you were younger and that, but who are your main influences, do you think, for Scaramanga together?
I mean, we're into classic electronic acts. I would say Underworld, the Chemical Brothers, New Order, Hot Chip. These kind of acts have always been, you know, we've always been really into them. LCD Sound System. Paul brings different things. I mean, Paul's got he's into like Depeche Mode and all that. I mean, I'm not as familiar with that kind of stuff. So we both bring very different things to the table. I mean, I think that even though it's electronic music, it's definitely very much based around 3-4 minute songwriting. You know, they're songs with a beat. You know, we're not so much. You know, we're not putting out 12-inch dance records. But when it comes to a live thing, we're definitely going to be kind of trying to sort of bring more of that sort of deep, that sort of dance influence into the live sets, if we ever get allowed to do them again.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, that would be good. I've got to say myself, one of my favourite bands when I was younger was the Vince Clarke thing. As it continued, was Yazoo, and they only had 2 albums. But I love the electronica and Alison Moyet's kind of jazz voice. You know, that's what I like to think that we can maybe do something of. And I'm not saying we're the same as, but you know, in that sort of field where the music's very precise, really well written, whereas I'm sort of randomly chanting over the top of it, like, you know, and melodically I like to think, but that's how I like to think it comes together like that.
And we've kind of touched upon it before. So saying you've been kind of releasing material. I've kind of mentioned it already before you came in. You've been releasing material over the kind of lockdown. Can you mention kind of what you've been releasing and tell us a wee bit about it, I suppose?
Some of the stuff that we released was written before lockdown, but during lockdown we have actually been managing to write via online sort of file sharing. But I think we've both found that it's not an ideal way to go about things. We really want to be in the same room, working together, collaborating. But some of the stuff we have written in that mode has worked out really well. But I think we're now beginning to get to the stage where we want, you know, I think everyone's a bit scunnered with all this lockdown thing, and it's hard to kind of keep the momentum going. But you know, we've got a lot of stuff that we haven't released yet, and we're kind of sitting on it, I think, now until we can maybe get some sort of live act to back up. You know, it's all very well putting stuff out, but I think you need to have a sort of 2-pronged approach. Putting it out online, you need to back it up with some gigs. So we're hoping that that's going to change in 2021, and we can get out there and do some live sets as well.
Maybe figure out a way of doing something live, although it's not with the crowd. But something, you know, I'd like to do some performance on the internet somehow or other, with maybe some sort of performance element to it. I don't know what exactly we can do. Maybe some sort of maybe a live artwork or something. I don't know. You know, we'll get to discuss that. I haven't even mentioned that to Stephen yet.
I haven't even talked about it. But I mean, that's what we're kind of saying. I mean, this whole pandemic's affected the music business and other forms of art in a very kind of detrimental way, where people are having to kind of like adapt, I suppose, for lack of a better term. But say, like, for example, 2021, right? Because that's probably maybe the realistic time for the earliest thing. If you were able to just say for definite in 2021, if I was just to say 2021 summer, it's going to be grand, what would you guys say you would plan for that then? I mean, gig wise, would you involve other musicians? There's 2 of you, or would you, you know, and that kind of?
Well, I'm in the process of moving, actually, but I'm moving to a place that hopefully is going to give me a space to rehearse in. So we'd definitely be looking to maybe augment the band and maybe add some other musicians, because I think it's the more the merrier in a lot of ways. We're kind of, you know, that's definitely the plan. We're going to keep writing together, but you know, this started out as a bit of a laugh, and we're just going to try and keep it that way. I think it's you know, the music business is incredibly tough. You've got to manage your expectations. We have achieved a lot. We've had a bit of airplay. We've had a lot of love for the music. So we just want to keep that going. And you know, I think we can in 2021, if we can back up the recordings with some live performances, we'll just be looking forward to getting out there and doing that. Yeah, absolutely. What about Paul? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. The reaction that we got from the outset was really inspiring. From everyone, friends, and I've even had phone calls from people that I've never had phone calls before telling me how much they love the music, which it's just great. So hopefully we can just continue to produce more music and get it out there by whatever means we can. Live performance would be an absolute treat. You know, I love performing live. I've got no fear of performing live myself. Like, you know, I've been in a few different performance situations where you know, well, fear, you know, doesn't, you know, I've been performing live for a very long time. I just wish we could do that next year. You know, that would be the ultimate. I think we'd do so much better if we could go out and, you know, we'd have, I think, hopefully more success if we were out performing it live. I think people might get a better idea of it.
Yeah, and live music is massive in the west of Scotland. We spoke about it, Chris, before when we did the music podcast, when we had Maya on, one of our members, and she's part of the music group, and she had just kind of started going to gigs and concerts and that. So it was a shame for young people who have maybe missed that, and for like people who that's part of the working week, performing live after work at nights or whatever, or at the weekends, or even people who that is their hobby, going to see live bands and seeing it. And in Glasgow, you could before this, you could see live music every night of the week. That's what's brilliant about Glasgow and live music in Glasgow, and so many people are missing out on it now, which is a massive shame, especially for creators of music like yourselves. But so you were speaking about the new material and that, and where we can hear it just now. Obviously, we can't hear it live, but where could our members and our young people and our viewers and listeners check out your music just now?
It's available on all the major platforms. Spotify, it's on iTunes, it's on SoundCloud as well. So we're planning to set up a Bandcamp, but I think the plan is to release something a bit more substantial. We've just been putting singles out. I think probably looking to put an EP or an album out next, and hopefully back that up with the gigs, like we've said. And then maybe something on physical copy. Right now it's just digital, but we would definitely be looking to put something, a long player out. You know, I think people want to hear that, and it gives us a chance to sort of frame everything and get a set together as well. So, that would be the plan. But yeah, definitely you can hear us if you check out. I've sent a link to Chris, so you can hear us on Spotify, and I'll send a couple other links along as well.
Yeah,
and we'll be putting the links on this video in the description, so you'll be able to click straight on that if you're watching this right now.
So we've released a few so far. Simple Love was the first, and then we released an electronic version, but also an acoustic version of that, which was piano, voice, and cello. And our friend Susan Appleby was kind enough to provide the cello on that. And so, I thought we might be going, you know, continue doing that, where we're releasing electronic and an acoustic version, but we haven't done that. However, we have had remixes produced of two of the other tracks. So at the moment, there's Simple Love, there's You Took Control, Heal, and Visions of Life are all the releases that we have. But there are remixes of You Took Control by Ben Stones and
Luminous.
Luminous, yeah. It's yeah. And the last track that we released has a remix by
JD Twitch.
JD Twitch, yeah. So which was very exciting to get done ourselves. You know, we're going to have to start pushing these more somehow on the internet as well, I think.
Yeah, excellent. As Chris says, we'll share them, but it sounds like there's lots out there as well, which is great because although it's been a hard year for you to kind of create that music and bring it together, it's good that you are still managing to get it out there somehow. And we'll definitely push that on our socials as well. And as Chris says in our description down below.
It's really nice of you to have us on the program, by the way. I really appreciate it. I haven't said that yet. It's really kind of
That's fine.
We appreciate you coming on. This is like our second season of the podcast, and Chris and I had a wee meeting before we started this season, and we just wanted to make it bigger and better and get as much kind of people from similar communities to ourselves and get them on and show young people where you can be and what you can aspire to do as well. So it's brilliant. We really appreciate you guys coming on and giving some information and maybe that ties into our final question, Chris, I suppose.
It does, yeah. I mean, so I run music groups. Our music group just started back this week for the first time in 6 months. But so if I were to like kind of pull you in, what piece of advice do you think you would give to these young people who are maybe looking at music as a career or a hobby, for example? What's a bit of sage advice that you could maybe give these young people?
Oh,
it's always got to be the enjoyment thing, really.
Yeah.
First and foremost, enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, or if you're in a situation where it's not enjoyable, then you've got to change the situation. If you really want to do it and you found a great pleasure in it, you've got to continue with it. But you've really got to, if you're not comfortable or happy, with a person or people that you're working with, just go and find someone else, but keep going and enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple of really incredible successes coming out of Scotland. You've had Jerry Cinnamon and Lewis Capaldi recently, and it's inspiring and it's phenomenal. But for every Jerry Cinnamon and for every Lewis Capaldi, there's thousands and thousands of people who are just getting on with it and just making music. And as Paul says, as long as you're enjoying yourself, that is the main thing. You just got to manage your expectations and just enjoy making music. And we love it. It's our favourite thing to do in the world. It's just why we do it.
Aye, that's excellent because I think that kind of ties in, Chris. We obviously started the podcast and recorded before we brought you guys in, and we were speaking about Chris's music group this week and how much it. Sorry, Chris, I'm stepping on your toes, but
go for it.
It was like a social aspect this week. Chris was saying they weren't playing as much music as they would normally if they were in every week, but these young people hadn't seen each other in so long, so music brought them together, and we spoke about that and how much I think for the music group it is mainly about enjoyment. I think they really enjoy doing the live performances and jamming together and things like that, but it's just enjoying being together and having a social aspect there as well, and enjoying each other's company before enjoying the music, I suppose.
Yes, yeah, and that's exactly what it's got to be. So Paul and I are going to keep doing what we're doing and just it's what we love doing. There's actually no greater feeling than when you get to the end of a song and you've crafted it and made it into something that you're really proud of, and then you put it out there and hope for the best. But it's actually the process is the main thing. That's where the enjoyment lies. It's just really great to create something.
Aye.
I think the more you do, it's addictive as well. You get into it, and it's just a really healthy and enjoyable thing for anybody to do. So
it keeps you sane.
Yeah, especially in times like this. But that's brilliant. Thanks very much, Scaramanga. Really appreciate your time, Stephen and Paul. Really appreciate you coming on and speaking to the young people and giving them a wee bit of advice. And we'll definitely put your links to your Spotify in our description and share it on our social medias as well. So check out Scaramanga on Spotify, and we'll have them up on social media and in our description below. But it's not finished there, the podcast this week. Sorry guys, but I don't know if you've watched any episodes of our podcast, but when the guests come on, they always have to go up against Chris in a quiz, a battle of the brains. Now Chris was top man of season 1, battering people away. The guests would come on and they'd be kicked out of the lobby right away because he was that good. Season 2 hasn't gone according to plan. We've kind of, the guests have fallen up, the guests have stepped up to the mark and shoved Chris off a wee bit, and even our other co-host Kirsty, who comes on, was beaten easy by CJ a couple of weeks ago. But Chris had a good performance last week. We didn't have a guest on, but Chris stood firm in a music quiz, and we're going to do a music quiz again this week. So,
and how are we doing this, Lee? Is it 2 against 1?
I think we've got to
traditionally the way we're going to do it. So, right, okay,
it'll be a hard one this week, but we always ask the guests, would you like to go first or second as well?
We'll go first.
You go first?
Yeah.
I'm Steve.
Okay, no problem. So question 1 goes to you then, Scaramanga. Which English sir has had number ones in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s?
Cliff Richard.
So he's not even asking his teammate. He's just going to
I know.
It's correct. It's 1-0. Chris, you got to equalise here. Billy Corgan is the lead singer of which alternative rock band?
Smashing Pumpkins.
That is correct. Well done. So these might be too easy because you're answering them too quick. There's no thinking time. Question 3. Who had a number 1 hit with Ice Ice Baby?
Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice is correct. They're not even working as a team. They're just going, I'll take this one, I'll take this one. It's 2-1. Okay, Chris. Next question. Jimmy, Robert, John, and John. Can you identify this rock band from the first names of their original lineup?
Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin's correct. Aye. Have you got their surnames?
Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, John Paul Jones, and John Bonham.
Yeah.
Did I
Brilliant.
get another point for that?
No, I don't think so.
No, you lose one for being so smart.
Well done. Question 5 to Scaramanga. This has been a quick quiz. What is the middle name of Sir Paul McCartney?
Ooh. Gonna have to guess that one. Paul, have you got any ideas?
I would just guess John, because Paul John, that would be a guess.
Is that your answer? We're going for John?
Yeah.
Okay, it's incorrect. So we pass it over to Chris.
I don't know it either, so I'm just going to have a guess as well. Michael?
It's no Michael, no. It's a trick question because his middle name is Paul. His real name is James. His name is James. Aye.
Aye.
That was maybe a wee bit unfair then.
Oh, yes. Yes, right.
Okay, Chris. So this one is, can you name the 4 members of Little Mix?
Is that a question for Chris?
Yeah.
Yes. He's like, big thumbs up here.
I just need first names. So if you get 2 points, you get half a point. If you get 2 of their names, you get half a point.
Okay, so I can just guess girls' names, and
yep,
we've got 4 guesses to get something. Nicola
is incorrect.
I don't think so. I don't know. Amy
is incorrect. So you need these next 2.
Rebecca
is incorrect, Chris. So we've got to pass a Little Mix question over to the biggest Little Mix fans we've had on the show.
No YouTube, no looking up, Googling that, by the
way. Are you going to guess one, Steve? Guess one.
I'm going to say Zoe.
Is incorrect.
And I'll say Alison.
Is incorrect. Sorry? No, that's incorrect. So it's Jade Thirlwall, Perry Edwards, Leanne Pinnock, and Jessie Nelson.
I thought you said this was a music quiz.
Question 7 goes to Scaramanga then. Which famous film star danced and flew in the video of Fatboy Slim's 2001 track, Weapon of Choice?
Ooh. Christopher Walken.
Up on now.
Was it Christopher Walken?
Dance and flew.
Was it Christopher Walken? Christopher Walken?
Is that your answer?
Christopher Walken.
Yeah, that's our answer.
That's correct. Great answer. 3-2, they go into the lead.
Why they got like a kind of good question there, and I get Little Mix? What is going on here?
It's the way the questions fall, Chris.
I know.
I'm sorry. I'll text you them. I keep meaning to text you the questions.
I know, that's
So this one is also a hard one. Which 1977 hit single by the Spanish vocal duo Baccara is the best-selling single of all time by a female group?
Say it again. Sorry, please.
No worries, I'll try and find it again because I'm having to look at the answer because I did not know this one at all. Which 1977 hit single by the Spanish vocal duo Baccara is the best-selling single of all time by a female group?
I have no idea. I know Paul knows this. So I can
I
get...
do, I actually do.
No, I'm getting this impression that he knows this. I'm going to hand this over to Paul just because you know it would be more entertaining.
Well, I hope it's this one, but because it's the one that I remember them mostly for was, yes, sir, I can boogie, but I need a certain song. Dun, dun, I can boogie, boogie woogie.
Hopefully this is the right answer, by the
I was
way.
just waiting to see how long he would go. It's Guy, but you don't get the point until you do the dance.
He'll no need any convincing, trust me.
Correct. 4-2. Scaramanga. 4-2. So they can win it with this one.
Oh.
In what month of what year did Elvis Presley die? So I need a month and a year.
Is this 2 points?
Yeah.
Paul, I'm guessing maybe, was it 1983?
No, it was 1977. It was 1977. That much I can remember. But and I'm trying to think when it was. I think it was March 1977.
Final answer?
It's gonna have to be.
It's incorrect. Got the year right, but not the month. And since you're 4-2 up with one question left, I'm going to give Chris an opportunity to get the month right. So he's got 1 in 11 chance now.
A 1 in 11 chance. July.
Oh, you're one month out. It was August 77. Oh, well done, Paul, for the year. That's great knowledge. So Scaramanga win this one, and the guests are winning again. The hosts are beaten again. I have one last question, obviously the 10th question. I'm just going to put it to all three years. Whoever gets it first goes away the real winner. In 1975, Bohemian Rhapsody was number 1 for 9 weeks. It was finally knocked off the top slot by a song with a name that appears in the lyrics of Bohemian Rhapsody. Name the song and the band that ended Queen's number 1 success.
Scaramouche.
Nope, it's not Scaramouche.
Fandango.
No, it's not Fandango.
Is this the real life?
Or is this fancy?
I don't know. Mama, something like that, maybe.
Mamma Mia.
Was that right?
It's Mamma Mia, ABBA.
I get that.
No, I think if we play back this video, I think you'll find that I can.
You said Mama.
That's close enough. That's the word that appears in the Bohemian Rhapsody song, though. Not Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia. It has to be
Mamma Mia, let me go.
Yeah.
See, that's why the ID parade split up.
Yeah, I know.
So there we go. Another week, another beating for us hosts. We'll need to sort something out here, Chris.
Little Mixley, come on.
I know. I thought they would have
picked
this week. I thought they would have, and I was going to give them the Little Mix question. What I'm going to do next week is just choose what questions I think you'll get right and put them.
Good. Yeah, that's it. You need to pull it back here.
Thanks very much to Scaramanga for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate
the information we've given you. As we've said, we will put the link to your Spotify in our description below and on our social medias. Did you enjoy coming on?
Yes. Thanks very much, Lee. Lovely to speak to you.
Thank you. Nice to speak to you guys as well. Next week, we've got another guest on, Chris. We're looking forward to that. But before then, if you can like our videos, subscribe to our channel, ring our bell for the notifications so you can be first to watch next week's video. And if you need any advice, any information on the complex, or you want to drop us a topic idea, you can get us on social media at
it's Facebook Kelly Youth Complex Staff, Twitter Youth Complex CYC, Instagram Youth_Complex. We have a TikTok Kelly Youth Complex, and you can email us at cycyouthteam@gmail.com.
Brilliant. So thanks again, Scaramanga. Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate you coming on. And cheers for watching, guys. See you later. Bye.
Bye.